Every Sigma male believes he's mastered the art of control, of emotions, of people, of life itself. He moves like a ghost through chaos, untouchable and unreadable. His silence feels powerful. His detachment looks unshakable. But beneath that calm exterior lies one truth he rarely admits, even to himself. For all his discipline and independence, there's a quiet ache that follows him everywhere, a truth so subtle. He's spent years trying to outthink it, but never truly escapes it. Because the Sigma male's greatest strength, his ability to walk alone, is also his deepest wound. He convinces himself that solitude is peace, that needing no one means he's free. But sometimes, in the stillness, that very silence begins to whisper. It reminds him of everything he shut out: connection, softness, vulnerability. Not because he doesn't want it, but because he no longer trusts it. This video will reveal the one blind spot hidden beneath the Sigma male's confidence. The emotional truth that defines his strength, his struggles, and his evolution. You'll see why the same traits that make him powerful also keep him isolated. If you've ever been the lone wolf, disciplined, detached, but quietly craving something real, this one's for you. So before we begin, subscribe to Ultra Wise, the place where deep minds and silent souls understand what others can't. And tell me in the comments, do you ever feel like solitude is both your protection and your prison? He hides his emotional exhaustion behind discipline and control. The Sigma male's discipline looks like power from the outside. Early mornings, quiet focus, emotionless eyes that seem unbothered by the chaos around him. But what most people never see is that his control isn't always strength. Sometimes it's survival. Every calculated move, every moment of stillness is a way to contain something he can't afford to feel. Exhaustion. Not the kind that sleep fixes, but the kind that comes from carrying the weight of being the unshakable one for too long. He's spent years mastering his reactions, never letting emotions spill out where others can see them. When pain hits, he doesn't vent, he redirects. When betrayal cuts deep, he works harder. When loneliness whispers, he drowns it in discipline. To the world, he looks stoic, composed, immune. But underneath that calm exterior, there's a fatigue that no routine can fully erase. It's the fatigue of pretending that nothing ever touches him. The truth is, control became his comfort zone, a shield that keeps chaos out, but also keeps healing from getting in. His routine gives him purpose, but it also isolates him. He doesn't allow himself to fall apart because he's convinced that vulnerability would make him weak, even though deep down, he knows that pretending to be invincible only deepens the cracks. He lives with emotional restraint, as if it's a badge of honor, never realizing it's also a cage. There are nights when the Sigma male sits in silence after a long day, not because he's peaceful, but because he's empty. That's the price of control. It demands energy, even when you have none left to give. But he won't show it. He'll wake up tomorrow, put on the same expression of quiet strength and do it all again. Because that's how he's built. What he doesn't see yet is that his discipline doesn't have to hide his exhaustion. It can heal it if he learns to use it differently. The moment he stops using control to suppress emotion and starts using it to process it, his strength evolves. Because true control isn't the absence of feeling, it's the mastery of it. And once he understands that, he'll stop hiding behind discipline and start finding peace through it. He convinces himself he's happier alone, but sometimes he's just safer that way. The Sigma male tells himself he's happier alone, that solitude is his natural state. He builds a life of quiet routines, empty spaces, and peaceful silence. To outsiders, it looks like freedom. He moves without needing anyone, answers to no one, and keeps his circle so small that it barely exists. But beneath that calm independence lies a truth he rarely admits. He's not always happier alone. He's safer there. Every wall he's built has a story behind it. A time when trust was broken, loyalty was one-sided, or vulnerability became ammunition in the wrong hands. Each betrayal taught him that people can be unpredictable and emotions can be weapons. So he chose the safest option: isolation. In solitude, no one can drain him. No one can disappoint him. No one can use his softness against him. It's control in its purest form. And that's why it feels like peace. But deep down, he knows it's just the absence of danger, not the presence of happiness. There are moments, brief, fleeting, when the silence he once loved begins to feel heavy, when the walls he built to protect himself start echoing back his own thoughts. He won't admit it, but part of him misses the kind of connection that doesn't require explanation. The rare feeling of being seen, not studied. Yet the moment that longing appears, his instincts tighten again. He reminds himself of the pain that came with trust, and he retreats, because solitude may be lonely, but at least it's predictable. The irony is, the same independence that made him powerful also made him untouchable, and that comes with a cost. You can't be fully human when you spend your life avoiding what makes you feel alive. The Sigma male doesn't hate people. He just fears what happens when he lets them too close. So he tells himself he prefers being alone. And maybe part of that is true. But what he's really chasing isn't happiness, it's safety. And one day, when he's ready to admit that difference, he'll realize something deeper. Solitude can heal, but only connection can awaken. Until then, he'll keep living like a fortress, strong, calm, unbothered, and quietly waiting for something real enough to make him feel safe and seen at the same time. He struggles to trust others because vulnerability once cost him peace. For the Sigma male, trust isn't something he gives. It's something that has to survive the test of time. He's learned, often the hard way, that vulnerability can be dangerous. Once he opened up. Once he allowed someone to see the parts of him he usually keeps hidden, the doubts, the fears, the soft spots beneath the armor. And that trust didn't just get broken, it shattered something inside him. What was supposed to be connection became chaos. What felt safe turned into emotional warfare. From that moment on, he made an unspoken vow: never again. Now, when people try to get close, he doesn't reject them, he just observes. Every word, every tone, every inconsistency becomes data. He studies people like puzzles, searching for the cracks before they can hurt him. It's not paranoia, it's protection. He's seen how quickly sincerity can turn manipulative, how easily loyalty can fade when convenience disappears. So he builds walls, not out of pride, but out of memory. The irony is that people mistake his distance for coldness, when in truth, it's the opposite. His silence is full of feeling, fear, caution, and the deep wish to never lose his peace again. He doesn't trust easily, because he remembers what it felt like to be betrayed by someone he believed in. That pain doesn't leave scars on the skin. It embeds itself in his instincts. Now, every time someone gets too close, he hears the echo of that old lesson. Don't open up too far, or you'll lose yourself again. This is why his relationships stay measured, why his words are careful, why his eyes scan for truth before his heart decides to care. Vulnerability once cost him peace, and peace is something he's not willing to risk twice. But the paradox is, the very thing he avoids is also what he secretly craves. He longs for connection that doesn't demand his silence, loyalty that doesn't test his strength, Nonetheless, he longs to hold on to loyalty, but it's prompting his wheels. Part 6, deep down. He may never say it out loud, but the Sigma male struggle with trust isn't about arrogance, it's about protection. Because once you've lost yourself to someone else's chaos, you learn that the greatest form of love is the kind that never asks you to sacrifice your peace again. He mistakes emotional detachment for strength, not realizing it's protection. To the Sigma male, detachment feels like mastery. He tells himself he's above emotional chaos, that nothing and no one can shake his inner balance. He stays calm when others explode, silent when others overreact, and unreadable in moments that would expose most people. It looks like power, and in many ways it is, but beneath that quiet confidence lies a hidden truth. His detachment isn't strength, his armor, a shield forged in pain, built to protect him from ever feeling that kind of loss, betrayal, or disappointment again. There was a time when he cared too much, when he gave his heart, his energy, his empathy, only to have it mishandled by people who mistook it for weakness. Each wound taught him a lesson, and over time, those lessons became walls. Now, when emotions rise, he doesn't feel them fully. He filters them. He tells himself he's evolved, that he's learned to stay logical, rational, and untouchable. But the truth is, his logic often hides a quiet fear of being vulnerable again. His detachment isn't coldness, it's self-defense disguised as discipline. It's the invisible line he draws between himself and the world to keep peace within. He feels deeply, but you'd never know it. Every emotion is processed internally, controlled, and filed away before anyone can see it leak through his calm exterior. The result? He appears powerful, but inside, there's a loneliness that even he struggles to name. Because when you detach from pain, you detach from joy too. When you stop letting people hurt you, you also stop letting them love you. This is the paradox he lives in, protecting his peace while starving his heart. He believes his emotional independence makes him unbreakable, not realizing it's slowly numbing the parts of him that make life meaningful. His detachment isn't failure. It's a sign of someone who's been forced to be strong for too long. And one day, he'll realize that real strength isn't about avoiding emotion. It's about mastering it. It's not the absence of feeling that makes a man powerful, but the courage to feel everything and still remain in control. When the Sigma male understands that, his detachment will no longer be protection. It will become emotional freedom. His perfectionism comes from a deep fear of being misunderstood. The Sigma male doesn't chase perfection because he wants praise. He chases it because he fears being misread. Every detail he refines, every move he calculates, comes from a need to make his intentions undeniable. He's tired of being labeled cold when he's just quiet, distant when he's focused, emotionless when he's actually protecting his peace. So he perfects everything he touches. His work, his words, his image, not out of vanity, but to control how he's perceived in a world that rarely understands depth. Growing up, he likely learned early that silence gets misinterpreted, that calmness gets mistaken for arrogance, that thoughtfulness is seen as detachment. So now, he overcompensates. If he does something, he does it flawlessly. Not because he enjoys the grind, but because excellence gives him something the world rarely offers: clarity. When everything is executed perfectly, no one can distort his meaning. No one can twist his effort into weakness. But this perfectionism has a cost. It keeps him in a constant state of quiet pressure, a mental loop of almost there, not yet. He rarely feels satisfied because perfection isn't a goal to him. It's a defense mechanism. It's how he avoids criticism, rejection, or emotional exposure. If everything looks perfect, then maybe no one will see the imperfections inside him, the doubts, the fears, the human fragility he works so hard to conceal. The irony is, his perfectionism only deepens the misunderstanding he's trying to avoid. People see his control and think he feels nothing. They see his precision and assume he's distant. They don't see the battle behind it, the unspoken fear of being misjudged by a world that doesn't value subtlety or sincerity anymore. Yet, when the Sigma male finally realizes that true understanding doesn't come from perfection, but from authenticity, everything shifts. He'll see that the right people don't need flawless explanations. They just need truth. His quiet strength will no longer depend on how perfect he appears, but on how real he allows himself to be. Because in the end, perfection doesn't protect him from being misunderstood, it isolates him. But vulnerability? That's where real connection begins. And for someone who spent a lifetime being misread, that's the only kind of perfection that truly matters. He secretly craves connection, but only the kind that feels effortless and real. The Sigma male will never admit how deeply he craves connection. To the world he seems self-contained, a man who thrives in solitude, who doesn't need anyone's presence or approval. But behind that calm exterior lies a quiet truth. He doesn't want isolation, he just wants authenticity. He's not afraid of people, he's afraid of pretending. The small talk, the performative kindness, the surface-level exchanges that drain more than they give, that's what he avoids. What he truly wants is connection that doesn't feel forced, something rare, something real. He's been through enough to know that most relationships are built on convenience, not depth. So he doesn't chase people anymore, he observes them. He watches how they treat silence. Do they rush to fill it, or can they sit in it with peace? Can they read the meaning behind his quiet pauses, or do they take it as disinterest? The Sigma male doesn't need constant attention, he needs understanding. The kind of bond where words aren't always required, and presence alone feels like honesty. It's why he often feels misunderstood. He withdraws, not because he lacks emotion, but because he's waiting for someone who doesn't demand performance. He's not impressed by excitement. He's drawn to calmness, truth, and alignment. When he finds someone genuine, he opens up slowly, carefully, as if testing the air after a long storm. And when he does, the depth of his connection is unmatched, because he gives his energy only where it feels safe to do so. But most people never get that far. They mistake his caution for disinterest, his silence for coldness, and they leave before ever seeing what he's capable of offering. What they don't realize is that the Sigma male's emotional walls aren't there to keep people out. They're there to filter out what's fake. In the rare moments when he meets someone who feels real, he doesn't have to try. The walls lower naturally. The conversations flow without effort. That's the connection he's been waiting for. The kind that doesn't demand him to explain his silence or justify his solitude, because when it's real, it's simple. And for someone who's carried the weight of constant misunderstanding, simple is the most beautiful thing in the world. He pushes people away before they get close enough to hurt him. The Sigma male has mastered the art of distance. He knows how to draw people in with quiet depth, only to pull away the moment they start to get too close. To outsiders, it looks like indifference, even arrogance, but it's not. It's fear. Not of love, but of loss. Every time he's opened up in the past, he's been met with disappointment. People said they wanted to understand him, but when they finally glimpsed the complexity beneath his calm, they either tried to fix him or fled from the depth they couldn't handle. So now, he protects himself by retreating before anyone else can leave first. He feels connection forming like a storm building on the horizon, subtle, powerful, inevitable. And that's exactly when the alarm inside him goes off. His instincts whisper, "Don't get too close. You know how this ends." So he distances himself quietly. He stops replying as often. He hides behind his schedule. He tells himself he's just busy, when, in truth, he's afraid of giving someone the power to hurt him again. The tragedy is that he doesn't do it out of cruelty, he does it out of survival. To him, vulnerability feels like walking barefoot through glass, beautiful in theory, but dangerous in practice. He's been betrayed by people who once swore loyalty. He's been misunderstood by those who claimed to love him, so he learned to associate closeness with risk. And now, his solitude feels safer than affection ever could. When he pushes people away, he doesn't slam doors, he simply fades. He becomes quieter, colder, harder to reach. Most people take it personally and leave, never realizing that his withdrawal isn't rejection, it's protection. Deep down, he wants someone patient enough to stay, someone who sees that his distance isn't a wall, but a wound. But he'll never ask for that. So, he keeps his world small. He'd rather be alone than misunderstood. And while that solitude strengthens him, it also isolates him. Because the truth he rarely admits is this: the Sigma male doesn't want to be unreachable. He just wants to be met halfway. He's not scared of love itself. He's scared of being seen, only to be left in pieces once again. His greatest growth begins when he finally admits he's human, not invincible. For most of his life, the Sigma male has worn strength like armor. He's built his identity around control, independence, and emotional restraint, believing that needing nothing makes him untouchable. But deep down, behind all the calm, composure, and strategic detachment, there's a truth he's spent years avoiding. He's human. And being human means he feels deeply. It means he gets tired, lonely, and sometimes lost. For a long time, he saw vulnerability as a flaw. Now he's learning it's where real power begins. It often takes a breaking point, a moment when his solitude turns too silent, when his discipline becomes suffocating instead of freeing, for this realization to surface. Maybe it's after losing someone he never admitted he cared about, or when the success he worked tirelessly for feels strangely hollow. In that quiet reckoning, he starts to see that strength without softness is just another form of weakness, a cage disguised as control. When he finally admits he's human, something shifts. He stops chasing perfection and starts seeking balance. He allows himself to feel pain without labeling it as weakness, to ask for help without seeing it as defeat, to open up without calculating every possible outcome. This self-acceptance doesn't make him softer, it makes him whole. Because true invincibility doesn't come from suppressing emotion, it comes from mastering it. The irony is, the moment he stops trying to be unbreakable, he becomes unstoppable. The pressure to appear flawless fades, replaced by a quiet confidence that comes from self-truth. He begins to understand that it's not his control that makes him strong, it's his awareness. It's the courage to admit he doesn't have all the answers, yet still move forward with purpose. When the Sigma male reaches this level of consciousness, his energy changes. He no longer hides behind silence. He uses it wisely. He doesn't fear connection. He chooses it with intention. He doesn't need to prove his strength. He embodies it through peace. That's his ultimate evolution, realizing that being human doesn't make him weaker, it makes him limitless. Because the man who embraces both his light and his shadow no longer battles himself, he leads himself. And that kind of power can't be broken by anything or anyone. Every Sigma male reaches a moment when the silence stops being a shield and starts becoming a mirror. You realize the truth isn't in pretending you don't care or proving how strong you are. It's in understanding that real strength is quiet, honest, and deeply human. The world may see you as detached, emotionless or unreachable, but only you know how many battles you've fought in silence just to stay standing. So, if this message resonates with you, if you've ever built walls not to keep people out, but to protect what's left of you inside, remember this: you're not cold, you're careful, you're not heartless, you're healing. And the moment you start embracing that truth, you'll stop surviving and start leading your own evolution. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to UltraWise. We're building a community of men who think deeply, feel strongly, and rise silently. Help us reach 1,000 brothers who understand that solitude isn't weakness, it's training for self-mastery. And if you've watched until now, comment "Evolved in Silence" below so I'll know you're one of the rare ones who truly get it.